Hello, everyone, and welcome for today's webinar on intelligent solutions for seamless production planning and scheduling. Thank you for joining with us. I'm Sriram, moderator for today's webinar, and I'm responsible for growth initiatives and planning system implementations at Anamind. Before getting into this topic of the webinar, let me just give a quick introduction. Like, what is the major thing that we'll be covering on this webinar? So, in today's global landscape, with a rising cost and kind of having a global disruptions, geopolitics, managing the demand and unexpected inventory short up, and all this poses challenge at the production sites. So how we can able to optimize this with effective production planning system and solutions, and how we can able to optimize the resource allocation, and how we can able to improve the responsiveness of the same is what we are going to discuss on this webinar. And I am happy to welcome um, today's speaker, Ms. Sheetal Yadav, um, who is a supply chain planning expert and a specialist in statistical modeling and data modeling. She comes with 10 years of experience in the supply chain planning space across different industries. And today we are pleased to welcome her on this webinar. Hi, Sheetal.
Thank you, Sriram. Thanks for the introduction.
Yes. So to just discuss on the logistics of the webinar, we will be taking the question and answers in the end. So please feel free to post your questions in the Q&A session, and we'll take the questions at the end. Over to you, Shit.
Thank you, Sriram. Let me present my screen. So great to see you all today. Let me know, Sriram, once the screen is visible. I
Yes, Shit.
suppose it is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. So what I wanted to do was just give a brief intro about the company that I represent, which is Anamind. Uh, and we are into the planning domain for quite a number of years now. We have helped companies build robust supply chain planning capability, and which is not just number crunching exercise, but we basically aim to contribute to the profitability of the company and in its also sustainability goals. Over a period of time, we have had the fortune of working with different customers in different sizes and different geographies, along with different industry. We've been fortunate enough to be recognized by the different industry experts like Logistic Insider, CIO Tech Outlook, Elton Global, ISCM, and our way of approach is more consultative in nature. So today, when we would be discussing about the production planning and how we can really look at different constraint, simulate, create different simulation, and ensure that our production planning and scheduling is as accurate and as efficient as possible, right? It's as optimized as possible, so to speak. So I'll briefly discuss about the offerings and then we jump to the system part of it. So as part of Anamind, we have different offerings in place. One of the offering is planning system, where the planning systems that we have cover demand planning, inventory optimization, production planning, and scheduling. We have been doing these webinars for past many weeks now, and we've already covered the demand plan and the inventory optimization segments in the last few webinars. And today our focus is on production planning and scheduling. Uh, we also have, as part of the our offering, the service engagement, where we work very closely with our customers in trying to understand the problem statement and also delivering solutions and provide our expertise in managing those challenges more effectively. So it could be process consulting, it could be along with the process system consulting as well. And that really works well with a lot of customers of ours. We also have planning intelligence covering, where we offer a system, an online platform, which is more self-service based. You upload the data and then you get an output in certain shape and format. And then the planning workshop. So here, as you can see, everything that you see on the screen is related to planning, and that's our niche area as well. We do not offer everything and anything. It's with respect to planning for now. And in as part of planning workshop, so we conduct various workshops where we provide on-hand classroom sessions. We also conduct sessions related to what are the different statistical forecasting methods available. How do we leverage a particular forecasting method in our process, in a segment of products category that we may have. We also look at the different inventory planning strategy or replenishment planning strategy that we can have, and what will be the impact of it on our inventory levels. So all of that is covered as part of the planning workshop that we have. The planning system offering, just going in a bit of detail here, our systems are AI, ML based systems which generate forecast and a more robust statistical forecast. Also, it includes event marking, outlier correction, detection feature, and the collaboration part of it, where different users can collaborate and provide their inputs. Uh, we have stock replenishment planning, production planning, something that we'll look in just a couple of minutes from now. And so we cover all the gambits of supply chain planning as part of our system offering. I'll jump in a few slides here and move to the section which is the most awaited. How do we use a planning system? So in our planning system, typically the inputs that go into the application, what are the inputs? They are the item details, the inventory data, both of the raw material as well as of the finished good. We have to feed in the bill of material to create a raw material plan, because we also look at the raw material shortages. So we need to have the information around it. So when I say raw material shortages, I mean the raw material constraints. So there is also a routing data that goes into the application, the operations, the capacity, the demand. The demand could be the sales order, or it could be a forecasted demand, the work in progress. There could be sometimes business rules which we need to incorporate. So all of this information flows into the application. The application consumes this data. There are different algorithms which are set in place, and these algorithms would then look at the information and create a plan. What is the output that you would get? The output would be the capacity profile, the inventory profile, what would be the utilization of my different resources, whether my orders would be on time or would there be a delay in the order because of a shortage in the raw material, or it could be a capacity constraint. So there are a lot of these exception reports, alerts, the bottleneck, the chart that you would get as an output when we feed in this information. So that's the output. Now the output basically takes into consideration two types of constraint. One is the material constraint. The second is the capacity constraint. Now, as part of material constraint, any good system should have some of these constraints that are listed over here. One of them being the lot size. So there could be certain lots that we need to factor in. The material availability. We cannot create a plan a work order without the raw material being available, and hence that becomes an important constraint to be considered, right? And that's where we need to have the lead time information, the supplier detail, all of that fed in. Um, Along with that, transfer batch quantity, the alternate item in case one item is not available, then is there an alternate item available? So that's the kind of constraint that gets handled into the system. The customer due date, the consolidations, the products, the operation level consumption data, any other sort of constraint that we may have, the fair share rule in case there are multiple suppliers supplying a particular product. So all of these constraints, which are part of my material, are fed into the system. The capacity constraints are also taken into account. What the capacity constraint? It could be the throughput time, setup time, wait time, different shifts for different days, or it could be overtime. It could be planned and unplanned machine downtime. This is something that we will showcase today, that if there is a planned machine downtime, then how do we handle, how can we then recreate a plan basis this in by taking into consideration that there is a planned downtime. And there could also be areas where we would have unplanned machine downtime. Then how fast can we respond to these changing situation would help us be more effective in terms of utilizing our resources well, instead of trying to figure out what the plan would be. So this system would allow you to create that plan within a matter of few minutes, and come up with the latest plan, which will be optimized based on the different constraint and the changing situations that we would definitely see in the day-to-day working. We also factor in the alternate resource, the alternate routing, in case one of the resources not available because of capacity, then system would automatically look at the alternate resource. The alternate routing is again quite important in terms of in case a particular route is occupied, preoccupied, then can we leverage another route so as to ensure that our orders are delivered on time. So it takes into factor what's my delivery date for my particular sales order, then it starts working backward, right? And based on this backward working, it also then further backtracks when do we really have to plan for a raw material so that it's available when we would need to plan for the FG. And then there are different types of resources that we can have, which could be a simple resource, batch resource, a contract, pooled, additional, etc. And then sequence dependent setup time. I think this is also quite important, where the system would try to club similar set of items together so that there is a reduction in the dependent setup time, and there is overall higher utilization of the resource accordingly. So all of these different factors are considered and a plan is arrived. So this is how the data flow and the planning cycle typically works in a system, which is where we feed the data such as bill of material, routing, vendor detail, the net demand, inventory. Some of this information like demand can automatically flow in uh, from the tool itself, or there could be some confirmed sales order, depending on what kind of business we are talking about, whether it is MTO or a combination of MTO and MTS. So the information would accordingly flow in. The inventory details, the work in progress, the purchase order, all of that information would flow in. The information can flow in via your ERP. Along with that, there could be certain planning rules that we can set up, and then the shift times. So we can create different shift times in the system. And this information, along with the business logic, which is where we have the material and the capacity constraints, flow in, and the algorithm would look at all of this information and generate an output, which is my planned orders for my raw material, the capacity, plan the um, uh, the work orders, the resource load plan, the pegging of inventory. So you would get a detail of which batch raw material inventory is pegged to which order, and ultimately what sales order gets completed at what time. So all of that information would be looked at. So let's move to the application, and then let's see. uh, Yeah, and then let's see how we can uh, further manage it. I'll stop sharing and I'll move to a different screen. Let me know if my screen is visible to all.
Yes, Shikha.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great. So this is the application view that we have, where we have certain static data points. Now, these static data points could be your item detail, your resource detail. So there are these different types of resource 20 station, or it could be inspection, it could be all different types of resources. Now, the resource could have a load capacity, it could have a, it could be a finite resource, or it could be an infinite resource. For example, inspection becomes an infinite resource, so we can define that. We can define the resource type as well, whether this is a simple resource, or it is a batch resource, or it's a pool resource, all of that. So this information gets fed into the system. It's more or less static in nature. Then there are some additional details like the type of operations that we perform. So in this case, we have taken a pharma example where there is boring, coating, compression, drilling, granulation, etc., etc. Right? But it could be any industry, any industry. Then we have the routing detail as well. For example, in this on this route, we have these different operations that are being performed. And if, for example, in this case, okay, let me start with an item first to go in a flow. So these are the different raw materials that we have. These are the different bill of material that we have. For example, if I look at the bill of material to make this item via this form, I have these different raw material that would go in. And now these different raw material would go in as per these quantities. Now it also depicts what kind of operations is going to be performed on the different raw material. What is the valid from and to, in case a particular raw material is getting phased out, then we can also define the validity of the certain raw material. And then in case there is an alternate bomb consumption, then that also can be defined. We can look at the bomb diagram as well, that all of these raw material go via this route on which a drilling operation is being performed. And this is the production rate, this is the operation sequence, the runtime, the setup time, the wait time, all of the information that you see over here can be fed into the system. So there's a whole bunch of information. We may not probably be talking about each and everything, but some of the important information is something that we'll cover. So all of these raw materials would go via this route to make this particular product. And we can see that these are the different raw materials that go into making. And then these all different raw materials would go via this route on which these different operations would be performed. And there could be an alternate resource here, for example, for boring. The alternate resource is 20 station, but the primary resource is 27 station, right? So in case this is not available, system would automatically look at the alternate resource and assign the work order on that machine or resource. So this is how we can have multi-level BOM fed into the tool. It's not restricted to two. It could be there could be many more levels as well, depending on what operations and what processes we have. So this is all static data, meaning it typically would not change and would more or less be fixed, right? So this information would flow in from our ERP. I can have similarly the different suppliers. For example, I have a bunch of suppliers, and we can then look at that this supplier supplies what different types of item, what are the different lead times for those set of items, and if there is any minimum lot or any other cost associated, we can feed that information in as well. So similarly, we can view it for different items, different suppliers, and make sense of this data. So again, a whole bunch of information that's available as part of our static data. Then we have the dynamic data, which changes on a day-to-day basis. Typically, what data would change? It would be the confirmed sales order that we would get from our customers on a daily basis. So daily we would get certain orders which we need to fulfill. Now these are all sales order type, but we can also along with this have a forecast order, or it could be a project based order, or it could be a sales order, etc. So all of that information can be fed into the uh, uh, as part of the sales order type. So all these are the different sales orders, and these are the different sales order lines, and these are the different sets of product associated with that particular sales order, the order quantity, the due date on which we have to provide this product. Because we have already run the plan, we also see a completion date. But when we would first time feed the data, or if you have not run the plan, then we would not get the completion date. And that's when there are certain workflows that the system would automatically run, and the completion date would automatically be appearing. Right now, everything seems to be in order. There is no red area, which means we would not have any delays, and something that we'll talk about later. So the work order plan, that's something that the system would generate. The inventory plan is something that the system would also generate. So we'll talk about it as well. Now, looking at all of this information, system would run the plan. So there are different plans in as part of workflow. So automatically, there would be the system would take the data from your ERP system, would then automatically run the workflows like your product. It would update the production shifts, it would update the capacity plan, finite, and also create a schedule, right? And that's where when we go to the interactive schedulers, this is for visualization. We have these different resources for which I would want to see how the plan is appearing. Now, in this case, I'll just highlight it accordingly. So I can see what are the different types of product. For example, on G1 as a resource, what are the different types of uh, items that I'm manufacturing, and what are the different work orders associated. So we can see what's the planned start time, what's the planned end time, what's the operation that we are performing, what the work order is, and we can drag and drop as well. So in case we feel that this item can actually be prepared on a different resource, or it could be on a different time, then we can also move around these details. Similarly, we have all the different resources that are available, and the sequence of each and every operation and the work order that we can see. As part of the work order sequencing or the schedule plan, we will get the schedule plan, and this is an output that would go back to your ERP. That these are the different work order on G1 resource, and what's the planned start time, what's the planned end time. So on a daily basis, you can take the output, feed it back into the ERP, and let it run, let the scheduler run, right? Or the work order run as per this schedule. So these are this is the complete detail of the work order for each and every resource that you would that you can take a download from, or if it's already integrated, then this can be pushed back as well. So again, a very detailed report and gives you a detailed information. For example, on this particular item, there is a setup time of 540 minutes. So it is also giving me this information that what's my setup time for each and every item or work order, depending on if the products are changing, right? So it would try to group the products so as and the work orders around it in a way that it reduces the overall setup time as well. So we have the calendar as well. This is where we can update the shift detail. We can have a resource wise calendar as well, where we can have a specific resource on which we can define that whether the resource would be made available or would it not be made available on a specific day. So this happens when we have planned downtime, something that I was speaking earlier. So if there's a planned downtime, then we can feed this data in. We can define what the start date is. So for example, this is going to be down for 10 days, but let's edit it. Second. Yeah. So we can change it to say there's a 5-day downtime, and we can define the shifts in case there is a shift that we need to feed in. So let's save this. Yeah, so there are two shifts that we run, which is from which is a 12-hour shift over here. So there are two shifts that are run, and we can define that as well. So once right now, for example, everything is going well, but what if we have received this procurement plan as well, right? So system is going to not just create a schedule for us that what work order on what machine or what resource needs to be planned, but it would also come up with what raw material do we need at what point in time. Now, this raw material order or the purchase order would be generated after looking at what my inventory position is. So these are the different types of inventory that's available at my factory. There could be an FG inventory. So first, what the system will do, it will take the FG, it will peg it because it would want to not generate any unnecessary order if there's an FG inventory already available. If there's already a raw material inventory available, then it would take that and we can see how much of the overall inventory it is pegging. In certain cases, it is consuming everything. In certain cases, it's not pegging everything. It's not allocating everything. So that's where we would get a detailed report. We can also see that we can also see a great detail. This is already a bomb, so this is already raw material, so we will not be able to view the bomb here, but we can then visualize the end-to-end detail of how things are working. We can also see if there is a problem summary in case there are any orders that are short or there would be any orders that are delayed. So the orders become short if if there is a delay beyond a certain number of days. If the order would be a specific order would be late by 7 days, then we would get the report over here. Right now, we do not see any problem items over here, so everything is going well. But what if it doesn't happen that way in our planning process? There is always one or the other thing that goes for a toss. So how do we manage that? Now, what if in this procurement plan we are getting the deliveries on a certain day, but what if there is a delay in the delivery? I need this product on this day, but I'll get it only on say 31st of January. In this case, probably I'm getting it in February. And again, here I need it on 18th, but I'll get it on 31st again. So I'll save this and yeah. And then we'll go back and run the flow. Now, this is a way to just do those scenario plans. Sorry, I'm just, yeah. So This is a way where we can actually run the plan again, do those scenario analysis that what if these products are not available? What if there is a delay in certain order? What if there is a machine downtime? So how would the system behave? What would be my new plan? Now, initially we had seen that there was no issue in the sales order. There was no issue there. In the problem summary, probably I need to clear cache. Yeah, now we can see that there are three planning problems, and we can also see that there will be certain delay. So there are two sales order where we now notice there will be a delay. Uh, so this delay is because we had changed the arrival time of my raw material, because our supplier had said they will not be able to provide the products on certain day. So this is an information that we updated, and right away system gave us a different plan indicating that now we have certain problem. The due date for this item is say 29th of January, but we will only be able to get it by 8th. We'll only be able to complete it by 8th of uh, February. And again, similarly for this item, it will be by 5th of February instead of 29th of Jan. So what we can do is we can also get into the sales order plan. This is where we can see how for this particular item or for this particular sales order, we are making this item, that to make this item, what are the different types of, uh, work orders we have, where the inventory is getting pegged from. So there is some inventory which is already available and it is directly being pegged from there. There is also some purchase order that the system has generated that we need to have. So there's some information that's already available at my factory. There's some information that will be, or some items that we would need to get it from our supplier in order to make these products. And hence, there would be a delay. Now we can see these are the planning problem item. We can look at uh, the, yeah. So these are the set of material report. So we can see that this particular item, there is a delay. So the required date is 21st of Jan, but we will be only getting it on 31st of Jan. So the required quantity is 230. Now, if this situation happens, probably we may want to either expedite the raw material availability from the supplier. We can do that, but we will get a list of this detail. The sales team can then go back to the customer and say, hey, look, there is going to be a delay for this particular product, so that the customer is not panicking at the last minute. The sales team will have this information right away made available to them so that they can take better decisions. There's more collaboration between the different stakeholders in the organization so as to improve the process further. So this is a very important, a dashboard that we can see where there would be a delay, what delay we would have, what kind of pegging that we have, where do we have partial pegging, are there any unpegged orders? So we'll get the detail of it from the system, and we can click on any of these KPIs and see what the issue is, where the issue is, and how we can handle and manage that issue. Along with this, system would give me a capacity report, which is a resource load report. This is one of the favorite report of mine, where we can see the details about, depending on the duration, we can see the complete detail about a particular resource. What's my available capacity? What's my used capacity? Because we had also run a finite capacity, we'll not be able to see any resource where there is a capacity going beyond 100. But even if it's in the range of 100, we can see that's being highlighted in red. And this is where system would also try to pre-plan the order. So instead of if there is a capacity issue, then system would start pre-building the product so as to better manage the capacity and load the resource accordingly. We can have a graphical representation of it as well. Let me not make it detailed. But yeah, so this is also where we can see more graphically, depending on what the resources are. I can see graphically how the resources are being loaded. So this is one report, again, quite useful, and we can plan we can plan around it. We can prioritize different sales order. For example, if there is a sales order that we have, which is of higher profitability to us, and we want to ensure that that product is made first as compared to the other products, then we can also define the priority to those items. So this is more of a graphical view. I think I've opened a lot of tabs here and I may have to close them to ensure this is a little faster. Yeah. Yeah. So system has a built-in algorithm, and you could see, right, when I rerun the workflow, that it took just few seconds for us to give a different plan, and it could tell us immediately where there are issues and how we can manage those issues, which sales order will get impacted. So let's go back. Let's me. Yeah. So there is also a resource utilization report. I'll go back to the prioritization in a bit. I think that's quite important because every day, as as a supply chain team, we take these actions. How do we manage which product to prioritize in case there is a capacity shortage? So some of these reports would help us take those calls better. uh, Let me see. Yeah, okay. Let's clear the memory out. Yeah. So we've selected these different resources. Again, report in a different view. So we can see what are the different resources that we have, what are the different types of products that are being produced, against what work order. We would also be able to view this information. Uh, that these are the different work orders, these are the different types of product that are being made on it. So again, with just few clicks, we get to see what's my capacity, what's my the quantity that's getting produced, and all of it is available to us in a matter of few clicks. So let's look at, I think one of the scenario that we were also talking about, apart from the machine downtime or machine not being available, or if there is a delay in a procurement of raw material, then how would the system handle? We have looked at both of these scenarios, but then there are also scenarios. For example, we had a customer who was looking at prioritizing or pre-building certain product based on certain priority. And this is where we can also feed in the priority. Now, the priority could be set, and it could be set on an automated basis that we prioritize our A class products over B and C class, or we can prioritize our high profitability items over the others, or we could prioritize just high revenue items over other. So those are the different approaches that we can have for prioritizing in case there is a capacity short. And if there's a capacity short, then system would start pre-building the product so as we have uh, the necessary item available to us at the right time. And that's very important. That's very critical for us to take decisions. Something that we often find it very difficult to do manually will be made available in the application in no time. So there are whole bunch of these reports that are available. There are these dashboards that we can prepare. Right now, you would just see a Excel-like report, but we can have more visual representation of the data depending on the customizations that we would need. Or for example, if there's a specific report, we look at it in, quite regularly, then those can also be custom built into the application. So that's the power and flexibility that we have over here as compared to the other systems. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing my screen again and like to go back to the presentation. Okay. So I have two screens here and I'm just trying to navigate. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So some of the constraint that we had seen and uh, the options that we have seen within the system, I hope you're able to see my presentation again. So we had looked at the
Yes.
alternate resources in the system. We had looked at the downtimes. We had looked at the working shift. We had also looked at the setup time in the application, right? So oftentimes looking at all these details and running a plan and things would break down on a regular basis. Every day there's a new challenge that the production team firefights over. So a system like this which can run and create a plan in a matter of few minutes is quite helpful because it's looking at all these different types of constraints available, be it raw material, be it capacity, and help us give a plan which is more realistic and help us, turn around quite fast. So that's the beauty of it. That's the power of having an advanced planning production planning and scheduling system that every day as things change, we implement those dynamic changes into our plan as well, and we rework on the plan. How fast and quick we are able to respond to such situation would give us an edge over others, and that's the power over here. uh, Things that you would find really challenging to do manually in Excel, uh, or in other simple tools. The kind of complexity that we can handle, and it's important to handle in order to be more efficient and utilize our resources more effectively. It's very important to be able to do that, and that's the power that we have over here. So I'll take a pause here and. And see if we have any questions that you would want me to answer over here. You can feel free to ask your questions now, or you can also drop in, email to us later on, and we would be happy to answer your queries over email. Or you can also email us and set up a one-on-one session, and we would be happy to, discuss your problems and challenges in more detail and see how best we can help. Okay. Over to you, Sriram.
Thank you, Sheetal, for this detailed and elaborated webinar on production planning and scheduling. So we hope that it certainly covered all the topics that we are looking on this production planning and scheduling, and we'll take up some few questions and then just conclude the same. So one internal question even I had, Sheetal, is that in this production planning scheduling, starting with the data source, and what are the different types of data source integration that is available within the production planning system?
So we can, depending on what systems are being used, we can connect via different data sources. So there's no challenge there. We have in the past connected with SAP ERP, or it could be a different ERP for that matter. So there, in today's world, I keep talking about it, that in today's world, the data connection is not an issue. It through custom APIs, the information can easily be fetched in from any ERP.
Okay.
And
And
also to let you know, we have a lot of flexibility in terms of integration. So your data could be available in a certain format, and we have our team who can write certain queries to cleanse that data. So your data can come in the format that you have, but a lot of operations on cleaning and ensuring that the form, it is available for consumption within our tool is easily available. So it's all of those queries can be easily managed within the application. It has an option for creating staging tables and moving into the planning tables.
thanks for answering it. So we have other questions as well for you to keep. How does this planning system helps in having taking the real-time changes in demand or supply constraints within the production schedule? How does this happen, or how this production planning system will cope up with this kind of real-time changes that is happening and the spikes that is happening?
Yeah, and the so what the system will do on a daily basis, it will look at your inventory data, it would look at your latest demand data, it would look at the downtimes. It could look at any other constraint that we may have. Maybe there's certain due to Israel conflict, probably the orders are getting further delayed. Uh, there could be any other issue, and there could be further delays there, right? And all of this information on a daily basis gets fed into the tool to looks at all the problem areas and reruns the plan and come up with the latest plan. Now, every time the plan is revised for schedule, as in the schedule is revised on a regular basis, it becomes very easy because it is sort of making my resource more effective, and it increases the utilization of it. So that's the advantage that we would have over here.
Yeah, you for putting some mechanisms. And the next question would be like generic on this, like want to understand what are the advantages of this platform over existing ERP?
So we have seen couple of ERPs as well. The scheduling feature is something that's not as advanced that you would see over here. The kind of constraints that we manage over here, and also the custom logic and the business logic that can be built in. Uh, it's something that's not available. I mean, what is the main function of an ERP? A main function of ERP, it's more of a transaction processing system. It's just storing the information, right? They are not meant for creating an effective uh, production plan and schedules around it. And oftentimes that's where we have seen that there is a breakdown. Not all of these constraints are managed that effectively. Looking at alternate resources, or alternate raw materials, or it could be the production shifts or the machine downtime, and rerunning the plan every time. So uh, we have seen a lot of advantages, and the system turns out to be more effective because these are very detailed solution focusing on the production planning and scheduling area, and not generally doing everything.
And next question is that you have elaborated about the can you just little elaborate on the priority function that you described on the production planning and scheduling?
Yeah.
How
So
does it work?
absolutely, we have a lot of customer, and in fact, few days back we were discussing it with the customer as well. They had a requirement that there are certain products which are more profitable and they have capacity constraints. Now, in such a situation, they have to take a call which customers to service. And a customer which has uh, which is buying a product which is more profitable is more profitable for is given more priority. They want to create a scenario where a higher priority is given to a product, which means the first product that gets produced right before the delivery due time is going to be the product which has the higher priority. And a product which is a low priority may either be delayed or can be delayed, or it may not get produced, right? It may be shorted. So that's typically where we can have priority. So we had customers where where um, where the users had given priority to their customers, not just to the product, but to their customers. So there's certain set of customers who are purchasing certain set of products, and those sales order are given higher priority over the others. So sometimes you have to keep the relationship, and it doesn't matter if they have ordered a product which is of low profitability, but to maintain the relationship, you may have to service the customer entirely. And again, so there is a lot more customization that's available there.
Yeah, it's fairly understood. It depends upon the company and what kind of priority that they are taking up on this. Yeah. So to conclude on the webinar,
I think,
thank you, Sheetal.
Sriraam, we have one more question. Sorry, I just saw that there was one more
Yeah,
question.
I think we have covered it up. Let me just check.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other question we have is, can the application provide management reports like confirmations to plan or achievement to plan? This may help identify dynamic bottlenecks.
Absolutely. So we can prepare a report that what was my plan versus what's the achievement against it. And it's widely used a report out there. Now the execution, because the execution happens in the ERP, so we need to take that information back into the application, but it can very easily be taken back, and a report can be prepared. So we have an option in the application where we can build a lot of KPIs and custom KPIs and custom dashboards from the application, within the application, provided the information is available. So yes, the information is, this report can be made available.
Yeah. So thank you, Sheetal, for giving a very insightful session on production planning and scheduling and a live demo on how it works on a production planning system and what are the different kinds of constraints we can handle, the priority marking based upon the industry and all this. So thank you so much. And thank you all attendees for joining this webinar. And please free to reach out at sheetal@anamind.com and you can post your queries and questions. And also you can reach out to the number mentioned here so that we can touch base accordingly and get started. So thank you. Thank you, Sheetal.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.